So, attributes. Who's heard of attributes? Good. All right. Attributes of God. Good. All right. So, attributes are abstract concepts that explain the personality, behavior, and potential of a person. So, if I were to describe my wife, Tiffany, her attributes would be she's confident, she's diligent, she is a worrier, she's selfless, she's loyal, she is a bit skeptical, she's humble, reserved, and in a lot of aspects, she's a perfectionist. I know this because of the attention and how I attend to her. All right. So God is immutable. Immutable means God is perpetually the same without change. Right? He is also omniscient. God possesses an absolute knowledge of all things actual and potential. Right? It's important that we know who it is we love. Right? How can you love someone and I don't know you? I love Tiffany. I know she's humble because I love her. I walk with her. I talk with her. And when she feels like her being humble is a negative, I comfort her. Right? So knowing the full character of a person allows you to attend to them. So have you ever felt like God was not involved with what he should be involved with? Like, come on now. like, hey, God, we done talked about this, bro. I've prayed, I've sat with you, and now I'm doing it. You made ways for things to happen on the way. And now where you at, bro? Where you at? Like, I'm going to give you an example. 2019 in April. My job, I'm going to try and condense this. My job, I was working for a lighting company. They laid off everybody in my building and moved it to LA. The headquarters was in LA. So in that process, they said, if you want to go, you can go. And so I'm like, immediately I called Tiff. I'm like, I just got laid off because I don't know how we get in LA. And our best friends at the time, they had just moved to Sacramento, just moved to California. And me and Tiff felt like something was about to happen. We just didn't know what. We felt like something was about to shift, but we couldn't tell what was about to happen. And we thought maybe we was about to buy a house, because we had humbled ourselves and moved into a basement to save money. And so we're like, oh, we about to buy a house. We about to be homeowners. And so we pray about it. And I love, this is sidebar, I love Jireh in the part where it says, if he clothes the lilies, how much more will he clothe you? Because in that moment, after I hung up the phone with Tiffany, I walked, and when we first got married, I got laid off 6 months into our marriage. I was the breadwinner. So that was hard. So here we are again. I'm getting laid off again. And I'm walking outside, and I feel like I'm crazy when I say this, but I'm walking, I look up, and this bird looks me directly in the eye. And immediately I heard the Spirit of the Lord say, I feed him. How much more will I do for you? So Jireh it got a spot in me. And so, long story short, we say we're going. We go out there, we visit, we find a place that we like. I have not done the best with my credit. So we got to pay double deposit, but we ain't got it. The CFO sees me and he says, hey man, you having issues? What's going on? And I said, well, actually, yes, since you ask. Because at this point, I ain't coming. So here you go, brother. We got to pay $4,000 for a deposit, or we don't get the apartment. Therefore, I cannot come. I don't know if you guys can help or what you can do, but, that's the situation. He said, all right, well, we'll see. I go back Monday. My director calls me and says, hey, James, this is between you and the owners. The only reason why I'm having this conversation is because I'm your director. The owners are going to give you a bonus for your deposit. That's the first thing. Then I said, okay, God, you must really want us to go. So I was like, I need three things. $10,000. Tiffany needs to keep her job. And I need to talk face-to-face with our pastor so we can leave well. Now, my pastor at the time, he was over 5 churches here in Atlanta and 5 in Australia. So his schedule was busy. The next day, he texted me and said, hey, James, you and Tiffany were on my mind. Let's meet for coffee on Saturday. We ain't never text. Then Tiffany goes to her job. And at the same time all this is happening, her job says, she tells her job the situation, we might be moving. Her job says, well, there's something in the works. What happened was her job overhired. So the only team that they could kick out of the office was Tiffany's. So now Tiffany's remote. This is a company who said, even if you have a kid, you can't go remote. We're an in-office community. So now the only thing, you already gave me $4,000. Just keep her job. And what was the other thing? I'm nervous. Talk to my pastors, yes. Yeah, y'all listening, amen. Praise God. That was a test. Look, yeah. I remember the 10,000 because that was impossible. So then fast forward, end of the month. I used to work at UPS for 2 years, gave into a 401k, never touched it, forgot it. UPS stock skyrocketed, $8,000 in my 401k. 10,000, job, and my pastor. So I'm like, all right, we're going. So God has provided everything we need to go, right? But then when we get there, 2020, everybody know what happened in 2020. I said we went 2019. If you don't know, it was COVIDa, like I used to call her. And I get laid off again. So now I have to come home February 24th and tell my wife, I don't have a job. And we moved 2,500 miles from our family. What do I do? I'm crying the whole ride home because, God, why would you send me here for me to live on the beach? What's the point? What are you trying to prove, bro? And I have that conversation with Tiffany. Now, mind you, I am trying to go after ministry before we leave. I'm working, I'm trying to be an entrepreneur. I'm doing everything but being a husband. So Tiffany works from home. She has a lot of time by herself. 2 days after I lose my job, my wife lets me know this ain't what she want no more. So I've lost my job and I've lost my wife. But you provided for me to come. Why would you make a way for me to come? Why would you answer the prayer if all I'm going to get is loss? So, I didn't think I was going to cry this early. This is where we find Joshua. Joshua is in an extremely similar situation. Him and Caleb, 40 years earlier, knew that they could take the land of Canaan now. At that moment, they knew it. But the other men lost heart. The other 10 said, nah, we can't do this. Now they've crossed 2 bodies of water on dry land, and it's time to battle. All things seem like it's ready to absolutely take victory. But then the Lord says to Joshua, circumcise all the men, stay put until they heal, then celebrate Passover. That don't make sense. So let's go to the scripture. Joshua 5, verse 10 through 15. While the Israelites camped at Gilgal on the plains of Jericho, they observed the Passover on the evening of the 14th day of the month. The day after Passover, they ate unleavened bread and roasted grain from the produce of the land. And the day after they ate from the produce of the land, the manna ceased. Since there was no more manna for the Israelites, they ate from the crops of the land of Canaan that year. Verse 13. When Joshua was near Jericho, he looked up and saw a man standing in front of him with a drawn sword in his hand. Joshua approached the man and asked, "Are you for us or our enemies?" "Neither," he replied. "I have now come as commander of the Lord's army." Then Joshua bowed with his face to the ground in homage and asked him, "What does my Lord want to say to his servant?" The commander of the Lord's army said to Joshua, "Remove the sandals from your feet, for the place where you are standing is holy." And Joshua did that. So, circumcision at that point was an entry into relationship with Yahweh. Yahweh, is the God of the Bible, the great I am, the God of Abraham, Isaac. That's his name, Yahweh. And circumcision is a type of new birth for a member of Israel into the family of God through covenant. Now, covenant equals marriage. This is a sign of separation or distinction from pagan populations. This is intended to be a symbol of a spiritual change within a person. So, for example, this is my sign of covenant with Tiffany. If I am not wearing it, you do not know. You do not know I am separated from the single men in the population. I am claimed. I am yours. She hate when I do that. So verse 10, right? Look back at verse 10. While the Israelites camped at Gilgal on the plains of Jericho, they observed the Passover on the evening of the 14th day of the month. Now, Passover is a celebration for what the Lord did in Egypt, right? Passover literally means spring over. So the wrath of God sprung over the children of Israel. And the significant thing in these scriptures is that the manna stops. So this displays that the children of Israel have already entered into the promise, right? Because they asked for manna because they were hungry in the wilderness. And so now that the manna has stopped, the word of God is fulfilled where he says, you will be in a land flowing with milk and honey. The land will supply you. Now the land is supplying them and the manna stops. There are things that the Lord will grace, right? There are things that the Lord will allow for a time while he's blessing you. But then there comes a point where that thing can't come no more. That like, I love you. We've been working on it, but like now is the time to get that thing gone. You got to let that go. So, like Joel will say, write this down. God will always hold you accountable for what you are responsible for. Right? So here is the problem in the text. If circumcision is a sign of covenant, and since Abraham, God has required circumcision as a sign of covenant, and these young men are not circumcised, there is no expression on their end. So it's the same as Tiffany's wearing her ring every day, and I ain't got one. And I don't plan on getting one. I got one and I don't wear it. So The proper perspective to fully understand what's happening is from the point of view of Joshua. If you just read it, you'll see nothing but promise, and it'll be conflicting. Because I was reading it and I was like, man, God, okay, like you want me to speak on this, but like what I'm talking about, because this is all provision. What's the problem? But the problem is Joshua's doing a lot of work outwardly, but he ain't doing nothing inwardly. Right? So they've crossed the Jordan River. He led them over the Jordan. And it was probably 1 million people. He led them over that. He orchestrated all of that. He now has to circumcise 600,000 men. That's a lot of foreskin. That's quite a bit. That's a few bit of foreskin. Then, after you're done with 600,000 men, now celebrate. Again, this is 40 years of a delay for Joshua. He's been ready. Now, do you know how long it'll probably take to circumcise 600,000 men? That's weeks. I don't know. I don't have experience. But like, that's weeks. And then you want me to celebrate, have a celebration, and we ain't got nothing? So it'd be like that. So for me, here I am in California, in my thinking, like, God. Now, like I said, we had issues before we left, but when we left, we said, my aunt, she told us, hook or crook, y'all got to make it. We go out there, all y'all got is y'all. Hook or crook. So that was our saying. And I had a theme song for when we was out there. I played it when we got on the plane. I played it when we got off. It's a song by a group named Johnny Swim called Let's Burn the Bridges Down. It says, let's burn the bridges down. Let's burn the bridges down. Light them up, no turning around. That was where I was. I'm not going back. For what? This is the promise. We can go now. But when I was in Egypt, I didn't steward well. So here I am bringing something broken into something perfect. And I've been working for 3 years to fix what I've done. And I've been putting my hand to it and trying. And seemingly everything is good. But when you get quiet and you chill, you realize what's broke. Right? You can't hear your car making that noise on the back driver's side on the hubcap next to the gas can if you got your music up. You got to turn the music down, quiet everybody in there, and listen. Thankfully, my wife was in a place to listen. Not by choice, though. She was at our apartment by herself every day. So we tell our friends when we're out there, like, hey, they became family. Their kids call us auntie and uncle. We're like, hey, I don't think we're going to make it. We're probably going to separate, eventually divorce. We told our parents, told our friends. And Nathan, Darian and Nathan is their name, and Nathan gave me the best advice I've ever gotten. He said, we went outside on the balcony. He said, I listened to y'all. And when I was listening to you, all I could think about was Ecclesiastes 11:1. I was like, what you going to get me from Ecclesiastes, bro? Ecclesiastes 11:1 says, cast your grain upon the waters, and after many days it'll come back. What that spoke to me was what I've been saying. I've been trying. I've done everything I can do. So now it's time to stop striving, to sit back and cast Tiffany off. and believe that God is faithful enough to mend her as he's mending me. I had to take a moment to say, I had a hand in this. I've owned it, but I have a hand in this. And at this point, the only person whose hand can fix it is God's. So I need to back off. And so write this down. When maneuvering through promise, a hands-off approach is better than being a hero. When maneuvering through promise, a hands-off approach is better than being a hero. There's a thing we all know about self-sabotage. There's a thing called the main character syndrome. It's where you believe that you are the main character in your story and that everybody else is supporting actors or extras. And when everybody else don't fall in line with the view of the main character, it's them. It's not you. That is self-sabotage because you're not the main character. And so I looked at it as I was the main character. I'm the head of the house. It goes God, me, family. I want to do voiceover, so y'all let me know if I'm good. God, me, family. And Tiffany is an NPC. Wow. If you game, you know what NPC is. NPC is non-character player. They background. And that's how I treated her. So we're going verse 11. Verse 11 and 12. The day after Passover, they ate unleavened bread and roasted grain from the produce of the land. And the day after they ate from the produce of the land, the manna ceased. Since there was no more manna for the Israelites, they ate from the crops of the land of Canaan that year. So the purpose of Passover is to sit back, cast your grain, and reflect on what the Lord has done. To stop striving, to cease from working, and just remember how faithful the Lord is. If Joshua was fully reflecting, he would have seen that the manna had stopped. And it was such a subtle thing, but like I said, the promise is fulfilled. The land was the promise that God was taking them to. And like I said, a place flowing with milk and honey. The flow has begun, but verse 13 lets you know where Joshua is. Verse 13. When Joshua was near Jericho, Joshua is near Jericho. Why? You've just circumcised 600,000 men. Your people are celebrating what your God has and is doing. But you're off doing whatever. You're not off like Moses praying in relationship with Yahweh. I can only imagine that somebody who spent 40 years waiting for a battle that he knew he could win. Joshua was a warrior. Joshua is a fighter. So what did he want to do? Fight. So where do you think Joshua is? At the fight. But where is God? Back in camp. Celebrating what has already been done, not what will be. See, you're looking at what you can get or what you're about to get, but you've already gotten it. You lost. You're off. The manna has stopped. God fed you when you couldn't feed yourself. Now he's provided for you to be able to feed yourself, but you're still off. And even so much so, you're supposed to celebrate the fact that I have provided, but you battleground by yourself. When Joshua was near Jericho, he looked up and saw a man standing in front of him with a drawn sword in his hand. Joshua approached him and asked him, "Are you with us or against us?" Write this down. I get why you say it. The promise is more important than the promised land and all its goodness. The promise is more important than the promised land and all its goodness. Dr. Miles Monroe, if you don't know who he is, he's a pastor who's passed, but he was from the Bahamas. And he has this quote that I absolutely love. It says, "The seed is not within the forest is within the seed. Your future is not ahead of you, it is inside of you." So if we take that quote and we look at this scripture, your future is not ahead of you where you are, Joshua. It's inside of you, in your people. Where is the promise? Does anybody know? It's in the tribe of Judah. Our coming king comes from the tribe of Judah. The promise has been with you, Joshua. You have been guarding and fighting for and protecting the promise this whole time. The walls of Jericho are not the promise. Jesus is. Jesus is what I've promised you. I promised you a way into me. No man can come to the Father except through me, Jesus says. So Joshua, why are you at Jericho when you should be celebrating what I have already done? So can you back up? Can you imagine being Joshua at the battlefield? Think about whatever it is you battling, whatever it is you feel like you about to take, whatever it is you feel like you about to just dismantle and break down to bring into your family through the power of God. Think about that. And then think about looking up and seeing a man with a sword drawn, let's say 2 pistols for our time. Right? Because, well, we could say a sword, because if I see somebody with a sword after I done been trying to look down and think about how I'm going to get to something, and I see somebody with 2 swords, I'm going to feel the same way as 2 pistols. Sword drawn. Now, there's a thing that said on the street, if you're going to pull a gun on me, you better use it. So Joshua asking the question, are you friend or foe? Because it's about to get real. It's about to go down. I fear no man, and we about to get it. And then this man says, neither. One translation says, nope. Now, I ain't gonna lie. A little bit of fear gonna come in my heart if I ask that question and somebody say no. You with me or against me? No. Hold on, man of God. That ain't what I asked you, though. Don't be so worried about when and where. Trust God with what is in your hand. See, Joshua was leader of the children of Israel. The tribe of Judah was in his hand. And to take it even deeper, the other person who said, we can go now, do you know who he was the leader of? The tribe of Judah. So Joshua is on the same page with the promise of God, the leader of the tribe that contains the promise of God. He has them in his hand as their leader. Trust God with what is in your hand and pursue that with all your ability. Tiffany is my wife. The order that I said is correct, but the perspective that I said it in is incorrect. It is God, me, and then the family. But I am a servant to the Father. And through serving the Father, I serve my family. I cover my family, but I am second in command. I cannot and will not try to usurp God's authority. So here I am in a situation where I've brought a broken marriage into what I know to be my promised land, and I am losing, if you do not know, my children, Dallas and Oakland. I've lost the promise of God for me to multiply. And I've lost those that multiply me. Because I didn't attend to what was in my hand. I have all control over how I love and cherish my wife. I have all control over how I display my love for her. I have all control over it. But here I am, like Joshua, where my men are susceptible to an attack. Grown men being circumcised is painful. You can't fight. They cannot defend themselves. So you, as their leader, you have left them in an unguardable position by worrying about a land. It wasn't until I met with my therapist, Larry. Larry asked me, do you want this marriage? I said, yeah. Yes, that's why I'm here, Larry. Duh. And Larry said, all right, he graciously said, all right, let me re-explain it. But he was really like, all right, you ain't getting it, stupid. He said, this version of your marriage, do you want it? And I said, I don't want that. And he was like, well, if you don't tell her, you're still a liar. You're just I don't want to hurt her liar. And I was like, dang. That's when I realized this version of my marriage wasn't supposed to be in Cali. God is doing something through us. So us got to be us. I was about to vacate my position because Tiffany said she didn't want me. But what do I do with Jesus when I choose something contrary? I'm saying I don't want you, even if it's for 5 minutes. I don't want you right now. I'll pick you up in a second. I don't want you right now. Colossians 3:19 says, husbands, love your wives as Christ loves the church. Ephesians 5:25 says, love your wives as Christ loves the church and gave himself for her. So who is Christ's wife? The church. What did he do? He gave everything. He gave dignity. He gave comfort. He gave peace. He gave easy. He gave it all for her. So what do I have to do? I got to walk through it. I got to walk through it. Tiffany wanted a divorce because she felt like I didn't choose her. And I didn't know that until the pandemic happened. We sitting on the couch. There's nowhere to go. My attention was everywhere, and I wanted the things more than her. I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to be a real estate investor. I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to be known in some way. I was more focused on what I could provide for her than what I could be for her. If God asked me after she said, I don't want this, God asked me, before I lost my job, before she told me she wanted a divorce, he asked me, if this was it, you in this apartment in Ventura, California, you working your job, you got your wife and you got me, is that enough? He asked me through Tiffany. Tiffany was sitting on the counter and we were talking and she asked me, if this is it, like, is that okay? And I was like, nah, I need that. Facts, big facts. I need that. No, I don't want to be in this apartment. I want a house. I want this. I want that. 2 weeks later, I got laid off. 2 days later, I lost my wife. Then God asked me again, all you got is me. Is that enough? If we look at hindsight, like I said, the promise is Judah, the tribe that contains the coming king. And by knowing that God is omniscient, we know he's preserving the tribe of Judah. Verse 13 and 15, when the commander says neither, he is essentially saying, I am for the will of God. I am for the kingdom of God. I can be your friend or I can be your foe. Your perspective makes the decision. So basically, he telling him, you with me or against me? You tell me. Because I'm ready. And I have come as the commander of the Lord. I have come with my sworn drawn. So you can either step aside or get stepped on. That's what he's saying. But then the question is, why is he saying that? Because Joshua has lost focus. And God asking me, if this is it, you got me, is that enough? Yes. Yes. It's more than enough. And then Joshua bows his head and he asks the commander, first of all, he worships this man. Angels don't get worshiped. When a man tries to worship a creation, that creation says, get up. I am not the Father. But this man receives the worship. That is a sign that this is the pre-incarnated Jesus. The promise that you neglected. I got to get in your face so you can see me. Because what you're neglecting is not them, it's me. Tiff had to tell me, I don't want you. And more so, she's saying, I don't want this version of you. Because you don't see me. You see everything else that you want. You see everything else that looks good. You see everything else that's pleasing to your eye. But it should be me. I should be the apple of your eye. I should be the one that you are giving blood and tears for. But now I realize this after she tells me. So now I have to align myself with God, cast my grain upon the waters. After many days it'll come back. God, I trust you. I know this is the woman that you made for me. and I want her, but I don't know how to capture it. Can you see the mind of Joshua? I want this because it's well within what you want, but I don't know how to get it. It's fully fortified. It's the most protected city that our people have ever encountered. I don't know how to get it. Write this down. Where the commander goes, the army follows. Stay close. You don't know how to get it because you ain't with the one with the plan. You out on your own. You don't know where to get it because you ain't asked me. And if you did ask me, you ain't listening. That's why you don't know. Deuteronomy says the secret things belong to me, but the things revealed belongs to you. The pandemic, without question, saved my marriage. Because in California, if you left the house, you needed an essential worker card, or you need to be going to the grocery store, or you need to be going to the bank, pharmacy. It needed to be essential. So all we could do was sit on our $500 couch from Target, foot to foot, and talk about how we don't like each other for 2 months. And the Lord told me, shut up. Don't say nothing. He told me that through one of my friends, Patrick. Patrick challenged me so much in that time. He was like, bro, I love you, but you sound soft. You sound soft right now. Did you have a hand in how this marriage broke down? Yes. Then put your hand into fixing it. Christian, hey, bro, you don't sound like the man I know. You sound like less of a man. Your wife is telling you she don't want you. My wife could never tell me that. Christian said, he was like, she could never tell me that. I'm always going to pursue my wife with everything in me. I'm never going to stop. I will never relent because this is the woman that God created for me. So here I am about to self-sabotage. If the pandemic wasn't happening, Tiff would have left the day after that. She is efficient. She is efficient. She don't waste time. If she made up her mind, she go. It's on go. So back to Joshua. Stop, circumcise these men. Why? Because I know what needs to happen for you to be with me to get the victory. Pandemic. God, why? Because I know what needs to happen for y'all to get the victory. Because if I don't stop the world, you won't. You won't stop. If I don't put the world on pause, you're not going to hear me.
That's good. That's good.
So chill out. I got you. I have all knowledge of all things actual and potential. Meaning, I know what will happen, you doing it my way, and I know what will happen, you doing it your way. And the reality is, because I don't change, I can make both work. I can make both work because I am that I am.
That's right. That's right.
But if you were with me, you'd know me. If you were close to me, you could see me.
That's right.
And you'd know that no matter what you do or how you mess things up, I can fix it. Just come here. If my daughter falls and hits her head, baby, I can fix it. Come here. I got you. Give daddy a kiss. I love you. It's going to be okay. We're going to work through this. We're going to get this right. But if she don't come to me, I can't comfort her. God will always hold you accountable for what you are responsible for. What are you responsible for? The way you follow. You are responsible for that. God is not responsible for how you follow him. God is responsible for the coming kingdom. God is responsible for the salvation of the world. He is not responsible for how you draw near to him. Write this down. It is uncomfortable to take your hand off of the things you treasure, but you must remember it was God's treasure first.
That's right.
Where you are is designed that way. There is no mistake. My big sister, Sharina, will always tell me. She'd come and she'd be like, Jay, you want to come with me? Where we going? You worry about all the wrong things. Do you want to come with me? And that's the last time she's going to ask. Because if I ask another question, she's just going to walk off. And then I'm going to get up and be like, yeah, I want to come. I'm worried about all the wrong things because my sister has already counted the cost. She already has determined that it is good for you to come with me. So here's my invitation. Do you want to come with me? But God, what are we doing? You're worried about all the wrong things. But God, where we're going, I'll meet you. I'll meet you there. Don't worry about how. Whatever God is taking you to, again, it was his treasure first. He's allowing you to partake in it. Being close to God reveals our lack of understanding. It is uncomfortable and it is painful. In going through this, I was reading this theologian from France named Fenelon. And he wrote this book of devotionals when he was exiled from France because another theologian lied on him, and then the committee kicked him out. It was a whole ordeal. But he wrote this journal insert, and it basically was saying, don't modify your pain. Don't try and change it, because when you do, you don't get everything that God has intended for you to get through this. So that challenged a deep-rooted seed of theology within me that if it's hard, it ain't God. Because things with God is easy. That is a lie. Look, if you ain't wrote nothing down, write this down. Thank you, woman of God. Y'all give my better half a hand clap. Look, I feel like revival is about to start. And no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to sweat like a preacher, but I ain't going to hoop. Write this down. Receiving the blessing is easy. Maintaining it is hard. Receiving the blessing is easy, but maintaining it is hard. Getting married is easy. Staying married is hard. Creating a child, it's easy. Hey, Shama. Being a father is hard. Receiving salvation is easy, but loving your neighbor is hard.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Turning the other cheek, that's hard. I have just stopped singing Try Jesus. Try Jesus. Please don't try me, because I throw hands. Nah, we're not turning cheeks. Nah. Actually doing the things that Jesus has required is hard. Obtaining that promise is hard. But you working ain't gonna make it happen. Joshua's anxious to start the battle because, again, it's been 40 years. He knows that it's one that he could win. But But God knew there were things that needed to be cut off. Deuteronomy 10:16 says, circumcise your hearts, therefore, and do not be stiff-necked any longer. What does that mean? Stop fighting me in your heart.
That's right.
Because you don't understand. Walk through the difficulties I'm bringing you through because this is holy ground. Remove your sandals and worship me through it. Because where I am, therefore the kingdom is. So whatever pain you feel, it's a part of that process. So just walk with me. I don't know why I expected God to rectify what I broke quickly. I didn't break it quickly. I didn't do it overnight. It took decision after decision. It took Tiffany night after night feeling he didn't choose me today. It was not a microwavable process. So why do we believe that the promise is? John 15:1-2 reads, I am the true vine, and my Father is the vine dresser. Every branch in me that does not bear fruit, he takes away. And every branch that bears fruit, he prunes it so that it may bear more fruit. You are being cut on, not cut off, but it feels the same. You are being cut on, but I promise you, you are not being cut off. It just feels like it. That's why we don't walk by sight. We walk by faith. Because pruning and being cut off feels the exact same. You still gotta bleed. Bleeding is not fun. But we ask, God, if you love me, why am I bleeding? If you care for me, why am I hurting? If you care about me, why is my wife leaving me? Because you bear fruit, but you gotta bear more. And I am the vine dresser. And if I care for lilies, and you are made in my image, how much more will I care for you? There are things you gotta do. There's places you gotta go. And I need your fruit to be evidence. I need a sign that I am yours and you are mine. Because as long as you choose me, I am immutable. I will always be yours. I am not the one that changes. I am not the one that shifts. It is you. You changed. I've been here, but you left me. But because I don't change, I'm welcoming you in. And I will always chase you. I told my wife there is nothing that you can do but pass to get me to leave you. Because that is what Jesus would do. So you can curse me, you can move to Georgia, you can do whatever it is you want to do, but I'm coming after you. So where am I? I stand in Georgia. What do I have on? This ring. The two blessings of God are back in Core Church Kids.
Come on now.
I said that wrong, but you know what I said. But just think, Just think if I had stayed in California bleeding. Because when she said she was leaving, I told her, I said, well, be blessed. Because there's nothing there for me. This is my promise. This is where I'm supposed to be. God had to teach me, you're supposed to be here, but you ain't supposed to be here by yourself. You're supposed to be here with the fruit of your marriage, with the fruit of your loins. You're supposed to be here with the things that I called for you to be here with. And we came now. We came when we came, but you came with that stuff. So you tell me, am I friend or foe? Am I with you or am I against you? If you just heard me talking and I sound like Charlie Brown's teacher, if you ain't heard me, hear this. Trust God in his leadership. Because 4 years of waiting. Here I am with my family and about to go take my promise in December. We are moving back to California in December. This is a full circle moment for me. We are the best we've ever been. My babies love me more than I could ever imagine. My wife cares and cherishes me more than I can ever imagine, and I'm still bad. She laughed because she was mad at me this morning. Before I had to preach. God brought my grain back to me, and he multiplied it. So, what is distracting you? What is it? What is distracting you from God's leading? And this impending victory? Because, again, he won't lead you astray. I promise. There is absolutely no reason why this woman is with me. Absolutely no reason. I am not worthy of her. And to be honest, I am not worthy to be their father. But your worth is not in question. It is not the thing. It is not what qualifies you. What qualifies you is the promise that I am yours and you are mine. The promise that Jesus gave to you, no man can come to the Father except through me. That's what makes you worthy. Imitating Jesus is what makes you worthy. Not your own doing. So don't work. Don't try and put your hands to it. Don't try and make it happen. Give it to God. Trust his leadership. It may not look like you want it to. Thought it would. Thought it could. But I promise it'll be better than you imagined.